Uh, Been considered all the points that Mr. Das is loyal and he had been working for almost 15 years in the company. I guess the boss should listen to Mr. Das and he had, as he had already stated that it's dangerous to go inside the furnace and it should be replaced immediately. I guess the boss should listen to Mr. Das.
Um, I agree with Shubham. I believe that Mr. Das and the supervisor, both of them should adhere to the safety standards. Mr. Das should probably reaffirm the safety standards and carefully and calmly emphasize that the furnace posed a safety hazard. He could also probably provide evidence for the same so that the supervisor understands that it was really a problem uh, for Mr. Das. Also, he should communicate effectively with his supervisor, I believe, because uh, instead of reacting defensively, he could rather have a constructive conversation with him and explain his position calmly and discuss the safety risks. Uh, Apart from that, if it is a manufacturing company, there will obviously be company protocols for safety. Mr. Das could probably escalate the concern if necessary, and also he could probably propose solutions on how to make the furnace also more stable.
We don't exactly know what the safety guidelines are and whether what Mr. Das is saying is true or not. The furnace might be old, but we can't be sure if it really is unsafe to enter because the supervisor did enter it himself and came out safely. So I think the boss should first assess if it really is unsafe, if Mr. Das did take a right stand or not.
Mm, I believe that ultimately it depends on what standards have been prescribed for the safety of the furnace. Uh, Obviously, it was a hit and trial case wherein the supervisor went into the furnace and was able to come out safely. But that is not how safety factors work. Usually, whenever safety factors are considered, even the last border cases are also eliminated while taking safety concerns. And hence, I believe that if Mr. Das was saying that an there could be a safety hazard, and if he has been a loyal employee for more than for a very long time, I believe that the supervisor should have considered Mr. uh, Das's voice and probably make sure that the furnace is mended first, and then only is it ready to be processed further.
Fair enough. I still think that being a loyal employee does not mean that he is necessarily right. Mr. Das has been working and the supervisor has also been working in the same factory. So to assume that one of them is right about the condition and the other is not, based on no direct facts, I think is wrong. So I still think the boss should first verify whose stance was right before taking a decision.
I have sent the case in the chat. You can read it, Ronak and Guki.
Mm, so
Also, the boss could probably conduct a safety audit within the factory to make sure that all the equipment is in a proper safety safety working state. And Apart from that, he could also strengthen the safety protocols and also educate all his employees within the company uh, on the various safety protocols being uh, being followed within the company, so that uh, everyone is aware of the safety protocols and don't take abrupt steps, as in the manner the supervisor took by just going into the furnace.
I agree with that point, and I also just read that he sacked him. I did not know that before. So I think the boss should reconfirm, run all these regulations, and recheck if the firing was correct or not, since he has been an employee for a very long time.
Um, Also, I think that since this is a reputed company, I'm sure they would have a handbook or some sort of like guidelines already where it's mentioned how to go about, safety hazards. Because considering the work of nature, that would be a given for a reputed company. So probably referring that to see who was right. Like if the handbook states that without supervision, like you can't go inside or something like that, then probably Mr. Das was well within his rights to say no. But if it states that like there is minimal risk if some check or something has been done in the last 3 months, then people are allowed to go in. Then maybe Mr. Das wasn't correct in this case. But I think a company handbook or like guidelines would probably be a way.
Does anybody want to add anything? It basically seems to be a case of insubordination versus safety and an ego issue between the supervisor and Mr. Das. Supervisors, as you would understand, they are young engineers usually on the shop floor. No? They supervise and they keep record of what is happening during the shift and all that. And the workers have been there for longer, so they have more experience in handling the machines and the processes and everything. So maybe he had been a little brash. The supervisor may have been a little brash and taken a risk, which he probably shouldn't have taken, but we are not sure about it. Maybe he was right, and maybe Mr. Das was right. So, like you all said, that they will have to do some kind of post audit. But currently, the boss has to make sure that these ego hassles do not affect the productivity on the shop floor, and he will have to reconcile and probably talk with both of them that you have to sort of uh, respect each other's viewpoint. And suppose something would have happened while this supervisor went into the furnace, then the company would be under a lot of bad media. So that would even be worse for the company. So here maybe they have maybe saved some money by uh, going there and taking the risk and all that. But that could probably have boomerang if anything wrong, but because furnaces are like big places, and if something breaks there and falls on somebody or somebody is inside the furnace and he slips down or something like that, then he can also die. So these are issues which need to be considered in this case. I think what all you said were all relevant, so no problem with that. I'm putting another case in the chat, then we'll have a discussion on that.